I am trying to be vocal for the greater good of the community. I guess maybe I'm a little bit too, snooping around and trying to investigate stuff myself, especially when it comes to CSPPA. But I think that's exactly what we need, and we need like focus on competitive integrity and in general be share our experience within Counter-Strike. So whenever something's good, make sure that you say you applaud to it. When something is bad and you have questions, you obviously want to ask them. And what's better way to ask it over social media, right? Because that creates a lot of exposure and I guess communication as well by the fans, so they just start talking about it, and just by talking about it, it eventually leads like naturally to some kind of discussion or conclusion, and people can make their own mind. So I like being vocal because I feel like, yeah, people, pro players, they just want to play the game and they want to avoid social media, they want to avoid fans interaction, whatever. They feel like it's useless, but I'm trying to build my character on internet, my brand, and my I feel like my voice is valuable for many, and I see it over and over again because obviously mostly in CSPPA, because we're trying to change this for better, and I generally like how I approach things, and I would love if more players were more vocal about certain stuff that they don't like, or even when they like it, just make sure to say it because that's something to build on.
You mentioned yourself that many pro players avoid social media and not let their voice out. Do you think there's we have the ESIC, but do you think the CSGO scene need more of a watchdog like yourself, asking the right questions and snoozing around, as you said?
I definitely think so, that the more we have of these watchdogs, as you said, the better. Because I feel like it's not even ESIC doing the heavy lifting when it comes to competitive integrity, etc., etc. It's mostly investigative journalism, and those are like asking around, poking around, and trying to figure out stuff and connect the dots with all kinds of matters. And the more we have of those, the better. And I'm trying to help these people that are trying to create the scene a better place, because that's ultimately what's keeping me in the game. I love the game, but if I hate the environment of this game, if I hate how it's run, how the tournaments are run, how people, what they're doing and not being, like, let's say, punished, then it will disgust me, right? I would like to quit that game. I would not like to be a part of it. So keeping the competitive scene in a healthy way is also ensuring that there's more career potential for others, and there's more young people coming in and more young players coming in, more sponsors, more partnerships, etc., etc. So I'm really enjoying what I do here. Priority for me is a team. Obviously, I'm a pro player, but as soon as I have like extra free time, I'm trying to, work on bad things that this community still has, and it will always be here. But we just have to point it out and be vocal about it.
Yeah, because that will also be my next topic, because you have this tweet where you tweeted 7 days ago, competitive integrity above all, and not mention more on that. It was quite a cliffhanger. Can you try to elaborate that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if how much I can share of this. So it was cliffhanger because of a reason. It's not just because I'm chasing, engagement on Twitter or whatever. That's pointless at this point. But it truly, there's some things that needs to be investigated, and we feel like ESIC is not doing good enough job in that. And I myself have launched a little bit of personal investigation with some other people from CSPPA into the matters of competitive integrity, and we found some breaches. So that's all I can really say as of now. But for legal reasons, I'm just going to leave it there again. That this is something that might shake the scene a little bit.
Yeah, you mentioned that in this in Richard Lewis show that there has been you questioned that whether there has been any coaches going under the radar other than Valence in this coaching bug incident. Do you think are you the right person to ask those questions? Do you think that shouldn't there be an organization like ESIC maybe to ask those questions and investigate, and not you as a player? Do you think that's a problem?
The ultimate problem is here that I asked those questions to ESIC. They have not been transparent at all with how they're investigating things, and it's wrong. It's wrong because if one guy went under the radar, how many more could there be potentially? Maybe it's 0, which I would be really happy about that result, but maybe it's 100, and that is something that would destroy the reputation of CSGO as a whole, right? And ESIC would be only there to blame. So I'm asking these questions because I know I have some kind of a power. I'm a board member of CSPPA, and I'm in a position to do something about this. And I just don't want to shy away from the problem because it can stem to something that will ruin careers of many. And yeah, it's just a rough topic to talk about. So that's why I'm here to ask those questions, and I'm mentioning it on interviews with Richard Lewis and right now with you as well. The more people that talk about it or hear about it, the better.
ESIC is seen as this big, maybe the biggest watchdog of the esport and Counter-Strike, but you have tried to reach out to them since February, and there has been radio silence, as you said. How big is a problem is that? Because you're not a random person, a random player. You're a board member and also this vocal person. But how big of a problem is that, do you think?
I think it's a huge issue that I've been trying to reach them for 2 months, and firstly, they replied to me just today, and I think it's because of the interview with Richard Lewis, and they feel public pressure, and that's something exactly what I mentioned before. If you don't talk about things, they will go away, and they would never reach out to me, and the investigation would never be initiated, right? But the fact that public pressure got to them, maybe that's why they emailed me and we set up a call, and I have questions I have questions that I want answers to, because I cannot wrap my head around like a lot of things when it comes to coach bug investigation. So this is something that I've been working on for past 2 months, and this is the first thing I've heard from ESIC, which is good news, but it's horrible that it happened after basically 60 days.
Going back to this, your tweet about competitive integrity above all, and talking about this, maybe there has been some coaches going under the radar in terms of the coaching bug. With your experience, how damaging would that be for the CSGO scene?
I think there would be a major damage. It's ultimately down to Valve. They already forbid coaches in majors. They might force this to ban coaches for all tournaments altogether. So if ESL wants to host a tournament, there's no coaches allowed. Like, it can create the world where coaches are no longer existence. And this is something that we all obviously worry about, that would hinder the scene. But at the same time, if coach he used the bug or whatever, and he is guilty to the extent where he should be banned, then I'm obviously going to be happy if he gets punished in a proper way, right? Yeah, it can be major damage to the scene, because if it might be a lot of people getting affected.
You mentioned that that ESIC was tough to get in contact with and not that good with their communication. There's been many how can I say it? There's been many talks with situations with Valve as well, where experts and pro players have questioned their silence in many topics. Are you confident that Valve will do the right thing and do the right actions in this case?
Yeah, I think Valve can do a lot of stuff here, and I think they should be taking charge. I don't know what the correct solution is, but definitely they have been pointing fingers to ESIC whenever something is happening, let's say with match fix or coach bug. So they feel like ESIC is reliable and responsible for everything. But just because how hard it's been to communicate with them, I have my doubts that they're a good watchdog to be represented by, you know. So there's definitely room for improvement, and Valve might be able to consider to take the punishments into their own hands if they see that ESIC was, I don't know, maybe hiding the data about coach bug or anything else. You know, they might lose trust in them.
So who do you think has the biggest responsibility? Is it Valve or ESIC in this case?
I think in this case it should be ESIC because they originally did the coach bug investigation in 2020. I'm pretty sure they have all the necessary data that they're obviously not going to share because it's under, I don't know, NDA or whatever, but they definitely have it. Whether Valve has it as well, that's question. And I don't think we will ever get an answer to that question, but who has it 100% is ESIC, therefore they should be 100% responsible for this. But obviously this is just hearsay as of now, and we will need ESIC to comment on it and then take some logical proceedings how to approach the situation.
Is it tough for you because I know that you are a pro player, you play for Apeks, you practice, you play a lot of games. Is it tough for you also to have this work in CSPPA, investigating and asking these questions?
I mean, working as, you know, as a side job in CSPPA, it's not fun. It's something that you always have to be very careful what you say, what you do. There's a lot of legal, you know, legal stuff going on in the background as well. So you have to be very careful not to break any vows or agreements. And it's not easy job because it's very easy to get burned, and it's you have a target on your back because it feels like CSPPA is, you know, people say they're not doing anything, etc., etc., but in fact that's not really true. We're doing a lot of things background, but you have to understand that we're primarily pro players, and as I'm investing all my time to Counter-Strike. But if I do have a free time, that's basically when I join the meetings with CSPPA and we talk about stuff that is not really clear or some people have complaints about, and we try to talk to tournament organizers on players' behalf to improve. So it's definitely a side job, but it's like a volunteering because we obviously are not getting paid for that, and it's not a job that I think a lot of players would take on because it's very, you know, very aggressive, and you have to like be vocal about certain stuff, and you have to study scene a lot as well to make up your mind with your own opinion. So you have to be always in the circle of what is happening, and that's stuff, you know, always. I know many players, and me myself, I would rather, you know, hang out with friends or stream or whatever, but instead of I'm focusing on something that is hopefully going to help the scene in the long run, and that is more valuable to me as of now.
Do you feel like you have a great backing from other CSGO players at the pro community? Your job and CSPPA's job you're doing.
Yeah, I think the backing from the pro players is there definitely, but they are dancing on a thin ice as well because they have to talk. They're assigned to organizations, and organizations generally don't want the CSPPA or any players associations to have a strong position. So they have, you know, two parties that they have to kind of work with, and I understand it's not easy. The organization can put pressure on players, and those players, if they're young and experienced, they might fall to that pressure, and it's hard to collaborate with them. But in general, I feel like we are having a support that other players see in our board members, that we are helping the scene, and I'm glad that they, whenever they have some problem, they reach out to us and we try to work on that. So yeah, I think pro players definitely value their assets in CSPPA.
But how do you think the magnitude of the situation is regarding match fixing in CSGO from your experience?
Yeah, from my experience, I can't really say because I have never participated in a match, obviously, that has been match fixed, or nor I think I've been accused of match fix, other than crazy fans, obviously. But I don't think I have personal experience with match fixing. But obviously, if that is happening, I am all for the competitive integrity. I mean, if for example it happens that my teammates match fixed, I'm completely going to be for getting them punished. Obviously, I don't care who the name is. If it's going to be simple, I'm gonna react the same way as if it was some tier 3 team that match fixed in open qualifier somewhere. And I think those punishments should be really harsh, because it's not a kids game that we play anymore. We're playing huge tournaments for a lot of money, and with contracts being involved. So in case any match fixing is happening, that should be definitely one of the #1 priorities for investigation.
Do you think there's a big problem with match fixing in pro Counter-Strike?
In pro Counter-Strike, I don't think so. I don't think in tier 1 Counter-Strike there's any match fixing going on, but obviously I might be I might be blindsided or something, but I don't think that's happening. I remember there's a lot of match fixing in Chinese leagues or Asian leagues in general. There has been multiple match fixing in Australia, in NA, and but those teams are mostly teams that are barely salaried, but as soon as you jump that threshold of being able to live off your contract and monthly salary, I don't think people are prone to match fix. But I hope I'm not wrong, at least, because that would be a huge blow. But it's mostly those people that are new to the scene and are playing for free or for a couple of dollars, really, that are exposed to this match fix, because there's a lot of games you can bet on, right? And that's one of the reasons why bookmakers are putting these games on, even as an availability to be bet on. So I don't like that personally, but it is what it is. And it's tempting for young players to get a little bit of extra cash injection if they throw or match fix a little bit. But I hope they understand the punishment they can face, and that is, of course, legal proceedings and prison, etc., etc.
Is it something the player association is focusing and discussing in these times?
Not really. As of late, we're not really focusing on this. We have our focus has been mostly on the investigation that we already talked about before. But obviously, if the attention is brought to us and we have some information that we should be looking into, we would love to discuss it going further, because it's important. Obviously, it's as bad as cheating, right?
With you being this vocal player and this guy for CSPPA, it's tough sometimes going on social media, HLTV forum and Reddit, to maybe see comments about you, because you're a guy who has a lot of opinions and share them. Is that a problem for you?
No, not really. I mean, I'm sharing those opinions not because I want to fight in the comment section or something. I mean, it's my opinion. People can disagree with it, and I'm completely fine, because like there's probably hundreds or thousands of people that saw certain tweet. Obviously, there's gonna be some vocal ones that disagree with it, I'm completely fine with that. So I'm just not really looking too much into that. If someone wants to have a discussion with me about it, they can always email me. They can always set up a call with me. I'm down to talk about it. But really getting into fight over social media, over stupid comments and different opinions is pointless and kind of waste of the time, in my opinion. So this is how I deflect it. I just don't really care about others' opinion unless it's some big name or important person, or maybe some insider that knows more about it than me. Then obviously I'm gonna listen. But yeah.